And welcome to the grand reopening of the Willowbranch Branch Library. Yes! Awesome. I'm Marshall Berry, Region Manager for the Jacksonville Public Library. We are so happy that all of you, along with our very special guests, are here today for this very special occasion. Our first speaker probably doesn't need an introduction to this group. He's our local historian and author, Wayne Wood. He will share a brief history of the Willowbranch Library. Wayne, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here, and as you know, my approach to history is one that is real and what is here. And what was here were plantations. If you dial back through history, even before the Civil War, we are standing in what was a great farmland that stretched all the way to the river. And I don't know if you ever thought about it, but why does 5 points have 5 points? It's because two plantations met together at an odd angle and created all these lines that don't quite match up. And so we're standing now in the midst of the Jawton plantation, and many of you know the little house on Lydia Street that goes back to 1855 was one of the plantation houses for that plantation. So along about 1916, Riverside was getting developed, houses were building up, and so the city council decided to buy this piece of property on the Willowbranch Creek. That's Willowbranch with 2 words. Willowbranch is often spelled as one word. In fact, it probably is on this, someplace on this library sign, but up above me it is correctly spelled Willow and Branch. And I talked with Barbara the other day. I'm lobbying to have this no longer called Willowbranch Branch Library, which yeah. So anyway, in 1916, the city council voted to buy this property, and the mayor vetoed it. He said, too expensive, down to business, we're not going to do that. And so the city council overrode it, and they bought this property going all the way from the creek to Cherry Street for $36,000. Later they bought 2 more blocks taking it down to the river, which is that extended park, and it's been Willowbranch Park ever since. Part of the reason they got such a good deal is because it was a swamp. And you know, when Willowbranch Creek floods, there's quite a lot of water here. In fact, that's germane to the history of this building, which recently had some flooding troubles that we're proud to celebrate being over. But it was built in 1929, started and finished in 1930. This is called the Mediterranean Revival style of architecture, which was very prevalent in Jacksonville and throughout Florida during the 1920s. This is probably the last great building built in that style, because with the coming of the Great Depression, not only not did many buildings get built, but fanciful buildings like this were beyond most people's budgets. So we're proud to have this building designed by one of the prominent architects of the time, Bernard Close, and it stands as a testimony to the splendor of libraries, inviting people by its beautiful facade to come in and enjoy the learning possibilities of books. But it also has some special features, not only the big Palladian style windows, but if you look up at the top, there's a band that goes around the building that is decorative and has some wonderfully playful figures. And that process is called sgraffito. And this is one of the few examples of this in the state of Florida. And the way that was done was old European artists, in fact, an itinerant Italian artist did this one, I'm told. And you lay down several layers of different colors of stucco, one on top of the other, let them dry, and then you scratch through it to get the beautiful figures you see there. So sgraffito is an Italian word that means scratch through. So not only do we have the first branch library, the most beautiful library, one of the last examples of the Mediterranean Revival style, one of the few examples of sgraffito, but this library is the heart of the neighborhood and always has been. It's where culture is centered, where learning is, where all the conveniences of modern libraries come to being in a historic building. And so we're glad today to not only dedicate this building, but also to thank all of you and all those who've been involved. One of the leaders of this process has been the director of the Jacksonville Public Library. And she came here, we're celebrating her 10th anniversary of being in Jacksonville. And many of you don't know much about Barbara Gubbin, but she is one of the superstars of Jacksonville city government and our community as well. She was actually raised in India and spent time in South Africa and London. She went to the University of London, got her master's degree there, was in Houston 10 years before she came here. Now she's been 10 years as our director, and we're hoping that she will at least go 10 more years here before she moves on someplace else. So please welcome our fabulous director, Barbara Gubbin.
Well, good morning and welcome, everybody. It's wonderful. Indeed, it is wonderful to see all of you here. Thank you, Wayne, for that wonderful history lesson. We have a really close relationship with Wayne in many different ways, obviously here with the Willowbranch, but he's on the board of the Friends of Hemming Park and came to our library board not too long ago to say, could the Friends of Hemming Park become part of our main library? And so many of you may know that they're actually based in our main library now. So we continue to work with Wayne, and yes, I see him everywhere. In fact, went to see a movie this week, and who did I sit next to but Wayne, seeing a really wonderful movie right here at Sunway Cinema. So, because this is sort of my neighborhood too. I live just south of Avondale and count this as my local branch library. And I just want to add one other little piece, Wayne, to your talk about the building. It was, in fact, a former chairman of the library board, Phyllis Towsey. It was her grandfather who designed the beautiful design around the top of the distrito that you talked about. It was actually Phyllis Towsey's grandfather, and she's a former chairman of the library. Us today for being patient. What we thought would be a short process to deal with the water penetration in the library wasn't quite as short, I think you'll be glad to see all the work that we've done, not just the work you can't really see around the water penetration issue, but also some upgrades that we've made to the interior of the branch. Particularly want to thank RAP, Riverside Avondale Preservation, put this reopening on their Facebook page, and we appreciate letting everybody know about this special event. A lot of people rose to the occasion to make not only the mayor and our city council for their continued support of the library. Mayor Curry couldn't be with us, but Dr. Charles Moreland, his Director of Community Affairs, is representing the mayor. And Charles, we really appreciate all that you do for our city and our library. I really don't need to, but Jim, you have just been such a library supporter, and we appreciate you every day. So thank you so much for joining us. I don't see any other council members, but people are sneaking in all the time. But the council and the mayor this year have done something very special for our library system. They found some additional money, and so starting today, 11 libraries will have more hours of service across our city.
You'll be glad to see I don't have a long speech to give, okay? But libraries are so important to the community, particularly these neighborhood libraries where you can walk to. I see young children here. I have two brand new grandsons that live, one lives walking distance from here, so I can't wait for them to use this beautiful new library. It had to be repaired. It wasn't easy to do, and it took a lot of money, your taxpayer dollars, and I think they were well spent. You're going to enjoy this library for another 85 years or longer. And you know, I've been fortunate enough to go overseas and see some of these older buildings in the old European, and they have some that are 400 years old. So this could go a long way. We can make this library last a long time, and it's beautiful. There are no others like this. It's so important. Libraries, not only books, Wayne talked about books, but there's videos and music and the internet. Not everybody can afford the internet, and particularly if you have a bad time or you lose your job and you can't afford the internet, well, where can you go? You can go to your library, you can look for jobs, and you can apply for jobs. So it's important to everybody, the young, the old, the folks in the middle. It's an important asset to our community, and this is a one of the most beautiful libraries we have in all of Jacksonville. We are so blessed, and we're so thankful that many years ago, that the city council overrode the mayor and chose to buy this property. What a great decision that was. I don't know, 60 years, 68 years ago, but 85 years ago. So anyway, we're so glad that they did that, had the foresight to do that. And I have one simple goal as a city councilman, to make Jacksonville better. It's real simple. This library makes Jacksonville better, particularly Riverside and Avondale. So it's my pleasure to be here, and I'm so thankful to everybody that helped. And I'd like to